Every year, and especially this year, we like to acknowledge all of the men and women in our armed services, state, county, and local police, first responders, our administrators, our teachers, and coaches. They put themselves in harm's way every day for us. So let's give them a round of applause, please. It takes many people and organizations to put on the Hall of Fame event. I would like to read that list and thank them for their efforts. Please hold your applause until I complete the list. Amy Gallons in the NYCC. This is a venue that not many towns have where they can have a separate dining and a separate meeting place, and this place has been just great, and Amy does a good job. SMS for Saturday night receptions that we had last night. It was well attended and everything was very good. Chris at the Seneca Museum for our team pictures, and you guys with the team, you'll be receiving a plaque tonight, and he's the guy that make these up. Custom Engraving for the great job they do on the plaques that we hand to our Hall of Fame inductees. Jimmy Senecropi and Finger Lakes 1. We started doing this a few years ago, and it's been very good, and we've had a great response. If people can't make it, even though they want to, can't come back every year for various reasons, they can tune in on this night, or they can turn in tomorrow or next week and see what happened tonight. So that's been a real plus for us. I'd like to thank the Seneca Falls School District for their support. Right from the beginning, they've been there for us. And our sponsors. In the back of your program, which I told you to get before you came in, we have a list of all of our sponsors. We can't exist without the sponsors. We have to raise all of our own money. We don't have any grants. So we appreciate all of our sponsors a great deal. If you donate, please continue. If you don't donate, please consider doing it. And last but not least, our committee. This committee goes overboard with their stuff. It's a 12-month deal. When we finish today, we will start in a couple weeks working towards next year's class. And these people do a great job. If they would stand, when I read their name, please, hold your applause till the end. Lisa Anderson, Liz Beck. Liz is in the back there. She turns off the lights so you can't see her, but she is back there. Wendy Caraher, Mike Ferrara, Tony Ferrara, John Nicholson, and I want to make a special mention. For family reasons, he was going to be leaving our committee. And worse than that, he's going to be leaving our community. He has been a great asset in both of those areas. Ted Novak, Pete Wormuth, and I don't think Pete could make it tonight. He's had some health issues, but I'd like to have a round of applause for these people. In the program, on page 2, there is a list of all our previous inductees, our lifetime contributors, our honored teams, and the Title IX members of the Hall of Fame. If any of those people are here tonight, please stand up. Anybody in the Hall of Fame on a team that's been inducted, please stand up and get a round of applause, please. Thank you. I told you we like to promote that so that these people come back, and we have many people that are faithful to us and come every year. Also in the back of the program, take a look at the 2016-2017 senior class and all of the classes for their athletic accomplishments. I'm sure you'll find many names that you are familiar with. We encourage all the Hall of Fame members to come back when you can and meet the new inductees. And at this time, it is our pleasure to show you a video of last year's event. And thanks to Ted Novak for this video. Am I in the way here? Is it on again? Okay. Very good. We didn't work on that very good. I'd like to thank Ted Novak for that video. He does a great job on those every year. And I'd also like to thank Liz for the screen job. Nice job on that. Right now, I'd like to introduce Tony Farrar, our athletic director and Hall of Fame committee member.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Before I introduce our first presenter and inductee, I would just like to make a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First of all, after this event, if you are all interested, the Seneca Falls Country Club will host a little afterwards party. The Seneca Falls Country Club is just about 2 miles down on Route 89. Everyone is certainly welcome to attend. Bring your wallet. No, you don't have to bring your wallet if you don't like to, but we'd certainly like to have everybody come down there. The second thing is introducing the people tonight. It's a tremendous honor. And the people that get selected is a tremendous honor, in our opinion, as a committee, and I think the community has certainly supported that. However, there is one misconception, and that misconception is that many people think that the committee are the ones that nominate people, and we do not. So if you or you know of someone that you believe should be in the or considered for the Hall of Fame, you can go to the Seneca Falls School District website, or you can contact any one of us to get a nomination form and to please fill it out. There are many worthwhile candidates that have come through Mynderse Academy over the years. There are a number of contributors who have helped and contributed to the welfare and the strength and the history of Mynderse Academy. And a few years ago, we started the Pre-Title IX Award. And if you know of people, obviously females in that category, please, we'd love to have people nominated so that we can send out information to the best of our ability, and so the committee has the opportunity to look everything over and select people. It's not the easiest process in the world, but it's certainly something that we enjoy doing and would certainly hope that we could have your cooperation and anybody else you know that's interested in doing this. My last little bit of housekeeping is every presenter, every inductee that comes up tonight is entitled to their claim to fame, and we respect that. We would just ask that they all respect the person or the group behind them. It's a very long ceremony, and just be cognizant of your time up here, because we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to enjoy the evening. Everybody has the opportunity to stay throughout the entire program. So your cooperation in that matter would be greatly appreciated. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our first inductee, and it's for the lifetime contributions to the Mynderse Academy athletics and all of its history, and to introduce Mr. Cherrie Galusha, his wife, Nancy Galusha.
They say that when you throw a pebble into the water, the ripple effect changes the entire world forever. I believe the same can be said about the day that Cherrie Galusha was born. Gerard Joseph Galusha was born March 10th, 1964, and the world changed for many of us forever. Cherrie was the second son of Dominic and Maria Manzari Galusha. His childhood was similar to the rest of ours. His parents worked hard to pay tuition at St. Patrick's Catholic School, the elementary school that many of our parents sent us to at the time. Like most boys who attended St. Pat's, Cherrie played basketball all winter long because basketball was the only sport offered to St. Pat's students. As a matter of fact, Cherrie somehow managed to talk his mother into letting him drive at the tender age of 14 to those nighttime practices down the street. Little did Maria know that Cherrie drove all over town picking up friends and delivering them home after practice. Cherrie and his friends reminisced and laughed about his early driving experiences for years. In 1978, Cherrie entered the 9th grade at Mynderse Academy. He took right off that fall with football, a sport he always loved, and then came wrestling. It's hard for me to imagine a Cherrie Galusha who had to cut weight by turning down the food he loved, but there is documentation that he, in fact, was on the wrestling team for 2 years. In the spring of 1979, Cherrie discovered the game of lacrosse. The thing is, when you give a boy, a rambunctious young man, a stick and tell him that he can run with it, poke people with it, hit people with it, and score goals with it, you've got a lacrosse enthusiast for the rest of his life. Cherrie played football and lacrosse all the way through high school and stood out for being fast and tough as nails. Upon his high school graduation, I'm sure that Cherrie thought his lacrosse days were over. I'm sure he picked up his stick and ball and played a little wall ball now and then, but that's about it. I started dating Cherrie in August of 1989. When I took him home nervously to introduce him to my parents, he immediately won them over. I recall my dad calling me the next day and saying, "I actually like this one." You can tell that what you see is what you get. Cherrie and I dated a mere 4 months before we got engaged. During my father's toast to Cherrie at a stag party, he proclaimed, "I'd rather clothe you than feed you any day," a sentiment my dad carried for the rest of his life. I married Cherrie on February 15th, 1991. It was a very cold, snowy day when we began our life together. 2 years later, Daniel Gerard arrived, all 8 pounds, 6 ounces of him, and I believe that when Cherrie held his son for the first time, he envisioned a lacrosse player in that little guy. 6 months after Danny was born, Cherrie was trying to figure out how to start a youth lacrosse program in Seneca Falls. Calls were made literally all hours of the day and night. Meetings were set up with the recreation center to get them on board. Games were scheduled, tournaments were scheduled. And at the end of all of that, Cherrie had himself a youth lacrosse program. Those first couple of years, boys and girls played together, but it didn't take long to see the need to separate the genders because the girls' rules were so different from the boys. Cherrie lived, ate, and breathed lacrosse. He was known to throw lacrosse balls from his truck to kids walking around town with sticks. He genuinely felt that every kid in Seneca Falls should have the opportunity to play a sport. He just wanted them to try lacrosse first. When we lived on Adams Street, every boy in the neighborhood knew that there were extra lacrosse sticks on our back porch for borrowing. They'd knock on our door and tell me that Coach said they could borrow a stick. Cherrie never worried about the sticks being returned because he knew that for some kids, those beat-up old sticks on our back porch were the only ones they had access to. Cherrie used to get phone calls from parents who wanted him to lecture their sons about the importance of wearing a cup in practices and games, about the virtue of doing their homework, and asking where they could get the least expensive cleats. We tracked down a lot of pair of used cleats for kids and actually paid for a lot for kids. Cherrie was far more than a coach to many young people in town. He was a friend, a role model, and sometimes the closest thing they had to a dad. When Philip was little, he wanted to play baseball. I was devastated. I preferred the fast pace of lacrosse over baseball. I told Cherrie that I'd rather watch paint dry than watch a baseball game. Admit it, many of you have said the same thing. Cherrie had a stern talk with me. He told me that we shouldn't interfere with Philip's wishes, that we should encourage him to play the sport of his choice. Of course, he was right. But I would have loved to have seen Cherrie's face the day of Phil's last baseball game of his sophomore year. He stepped off the diamond and announced to me, "I'm playing lacrosse next year." And I thought, what took so long? Every summer, Cherrie organized the lacrosse alumni game. We'd drive all over town to put signs up advertising the game. It became a very popular summer highlight. He put a lot of time and effort into that game. My heart was truly broken the summer of 2010 when I had to call some of Cherrie's lacrosse coach friends and tell them that he wouldn't be able to put the game signs up or attend the game because he had been diagnosed with stage 4 malignant melanoma and was seeking treatment for this ugly disease. Cherrie's life was cut short just 4 months later as the disease progressed rapidly. Many of his former players have contacted me in the past 7 years to tell me how much he meant to me. The people, of course, that miss Cherrie the most are myself, his sons, Danny and Philip, his dad, and his brother, my mother, my brother, sister, and their family and friends. Our lives were truly enriched by Jerry's presence. And the world had the brightest light go out on November 5th, 2010, the day that Jerry died. Our sons are his living testament. They are wonderful young men who carry within them Jerry's best characteristics. Thank you very much for this honor for Jerry.
Dan, Phil. Take it with you, buddy. That's yours. Tell me athletics isn't the most important thing in somebody's life. Thank you. Very well done. It's now my pleasure to introduce my brother, Mike Ferrara, as he will be presenting and introducing our next inductee.
Thank you, Tony. Rod, 1970 football team, Coach Davis would be proud. None of you kneeled during the Pledge of Allegiance, so nice job. Superintendent McKebney, I know is not here tonight, but I'd like to recognize Superintendent McKebney, distinguished members of the Seneca Falls Central School Board, the Honorable Senator Michael Nozolia, current members of the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame, and of course the 2017 inductees. Good evening. It is with great pride and honor that I'm here tonight to introduce Sherrie Barrett Deming as the newest member of the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame. One of the proudest days in my life was when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame back in 2012 as a coach. I can assure you, all of tonight's inductees, that you will feel the same way the rest of your lives. It's a very proud night for all of you. Sherrie earned 6 sectional championships during her high school career, an amazing accomplishment, 6. 2 as a standout defense person in soccer, 2 as a shooting forward in basketball, and 2 as a starting pitcher on the softball team. As a young adult, Sherrie immediately began giving back to the community when she graduated from high school in the community of Seneca Falls, at first as a volunteer coach, mentor, and sports official, and then in the community of Waterloo after she was married. During the mid-1980s, Sherrie and her teammates built the foundation for the Mynderse Academy Women's Sports Program. I assure you that Sherrie and her classmates and teammates, many of them played together on the same team, firmly built the foundation of Mynderse Academy Women's Athletics, and I'm very proud to say that that tradition continues today. If you walk into Arthur Baker Gymnasium as a coach, you could motivate any new team to say, look up at the banners and say, this is what you're practicing for every day for the next 5 months. These are your goals. These people started the tradition, and I'm sure you need to continue with that. So Sherrie, and I said as her teammates, built that foundation that continued on for many, many years until today. I had the pleasure to coach Sherrie in basketball for 4 years and watch her in soccer and softball as well. She was tenacious, dedicated, committed, hardworking, fearless, and above all, loyal to her school, her coaches, and her teammates. As we all get older, the reality of the phrase circle of life becomes more profound. In the business of education, even more so. I not only had the pleasure of coaching Sherrie, but also was fortunate enough to have her daughter Lauren and her son Ben as their principal as they grew up in Waterloo Central School District. I even had the opportunity to coach Ben at the JV basketball level, so it was a complete circle of life for me, coaching Ben and then obviously coaching Sherrie. Both Lauren and Ben were outstanding basketball players at the high school level and accomplished athletes as well. In addition, both are playing college basketball at the collegiate level, as I said. And I'm quite confident that Sherrie strongly influenced both of her children into that direction. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the newest member of Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame, Sherrie Barrett Deming. In the middle?
I want to take the time to thank you, my teammates, my coaches, who have become great friends through the years, my parents, my teammates' parents who have supported us all through the years, my children who put up with me because I don't know what else they would have been other than athletes, but I thank you. This is a great honor. I'm overwhelmed, and thank you very much.
It is now my pleasure to introduce the presenter for our next inductee, Miss Molly Lawson.
I am not a public speaker, so I apologize for whatever comes out. I meant to have a glass of wine beforehand, and I didn't. So anyway, I'm here to present this award to my dad, Joe Lawson, who apparently knows every single person in this room. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here today, especially because I've never been given the opportunity to publicly roast you. So, Dad, for the last 33 years, here's your payback. I'm just kidding. I've been roasting you on Facebook for many years. Being my father's daughter came with a certain unique set of challenges. For example, when your dad is 6'5", you have no perception of height. I still, if you're a man and you're not 6'2", I think you're short, which has made dating incredibly difficult. So, Dad, hopefully you don't want any more grandkids. So. My dad has always been an amazing father. I can't speak to his athletics because he's so old and I'm so young. But as a father, he was amazing. He shaped my life in every aspect. He was an athlete, so I was an athlete. Only a runner. Sorry, Dad. I should have been a basketball player, and I apologize. You worked in the medical field, so I went into the medical field. I even had a short stint in 6th grade playing the trombone because you did, and I don't know why you allowed me to follow your footsteps, but for 6th grade, I was the third best trombone player in Waterloo Middle School. I've always known that my dad was a very good athlete because everybody talked about it. Everywhere I went, it was, "Are you Joe Lawson's kid?" And so I felt a great honor from being his child. But it wasn't until my grandma passed away and I found a stack of newspaper clippings from the 1860s. 1960s, sorry, Dad. He taught me that being an athlete was cool, but to be a good athlete, you had to work hard at it. So I worked hard at it, and I came out super cool. So, Dad, thank you for always being a wonderful role model. Tonight is just another example of that. I'm proud of you, Dad. He always says that to me, and it's super annoying, but I'm going to say it right back to you, Dad. Thank you for the excellent athletic genetic makeup. I appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present my father, Bigfoot Joe Lawson.
Thank you. Actually, this ruined my speech because I thought I'd have to spend a half hour defending myself. I'm still going to kick your ass. So, good evening. I'm not a public speaker either, but obviously if I follow like her, I won't do too bad. Many of us remember 60 years ago, not many, but it was a time in Seneca Falls, which was a perfect place to grow up, baby boomer years. There were fields next door. You could go outside and play and not have to worry about your kids being attacked or kidnapped. We grew up near Brady's Field, played baseball. Baskets were hung on trees to play basketball. Play football in the wintertime in the snow. It's just a great place. We were the baby boomers, and obviously the parents were the bangers. But I didn't think anyone would get that one. So we had a large family, as everyone else did. And Nancy mentioned St. Pat's basketball, which is, I mean, that was the shooting point for us. Mike is here tonight. We had an undefeated 8th grade team. But we transitioned so well into Mynderse Academy that it was just a smooth progression. And every sport that I wanted to play, I couldn't because my favorite sport was actually football, but I got banned from that by my father when I was a sophomore. Either way, we went on to win the championship in my senior year. And after that, I played baseball professionally. I would like to thank a lot of people, though, and primarily the teammates, but my family was also very important to me. My father, my cousin, Mike, even my grandfather caught me in the backyard as a pitcher. They all swore I broke their hands, but they're still alive. No one can make a point better than the people you surround yourself with as a team, and you guys all know that. The team sports are the ultimate that Mynderse has to offer. The coaches are also important, as you know about George Davis, but my inspiration was Norm Law, and I actually think that he's the one that turned around basketball at Mynderse Academy and has made it what it is and has been for quite some time. So thank yous to all of those, and thank you all for listening.
Our next inductee, unfortunately, has relocated to pursue his professional career. But I would like to acknowledge Mr. Kevin Loucks, class of 1980. I know his mom and dad and sisters are here. Would like to thank you because I know the support that you all provided to Kevin throughout not only his growing up years, but high school and even at the collegiate level. At this time, it'd be my pleasure to bring up Kelly, his daughter, Josh, his son, to accept the plaque in his honor.
My dad would like to thank the committee for this honor, so thank you.
To present for our next inductee, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Joe Carraher.
Good evening. Firstly, I would like to congratulate all inductees, past and present. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and the Ward family for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. In the fall of 1981, I was a freshman at Mynderse, and this is when I first encountered Coach Ward. He came to Mynderse from Cortland State as a student teacher. I had an immediate connection with Coach as he and I both shared interest in football and wrestling. He helped out with the varsity football team that fall, but being a JV player, I didn't have much interaction with Coach. And like so many other student teachers that passed through Mynderse Academy, Coach completed his assignment and went back to school. 2 years later, Mynderse, as I knew it, was in a transition. Coach Geithner was completing his last season as football coach. My brother Dan, the wrestling coach, had left to become AD and football coach at York High School. And luckily for Mynderse, Coach Ward was available and started working in the district. He took over as varsity wrestling coach and JV football coach, and this is when I first started to spend a lot of time with Coach. He was always calm, cool, and collected. He taught you the art of wrestling. He made you a smarter and better wrestler. I wrestled 2 years for Coach, and I used many lessons he taught me in my college lacrosse career. As fate would have it, when I finished my college career, it took me a while, I may need an assistant wrestling coach, and I hooked up with Coach Ward again. At this time, I really learned the strategy of wrestling as a team sport. Most people think kids weigh in wrestlers, they wrestle their weight, and you see how the chips fall. I remember Coach's folder of wrestling clippings of the teams that we wrestled. He would weigh kids in at different weights, moving them around like chess pieces. Nobody anywhere did this better than Coach Ward. He won many matches because he was smarter and more prepared than other coaches. He showed how important being prepared, and how wrestling could be a team sport. Through the years, I don't know how many, I have coached countless football games and wrestling matches with Coach. Over that time, we have formed a bond that is really special and very important to me. I've been blessed in my life to have many great coaches. All have had an influence on who I am today. But Coach Ward's influence is unique. First as a coach, then as a mentor, and most important to me, as a friend. He has shaped me as much as any other coach in my life. He is humble, caring, a tireless worker, and a true Mynderse man. There is no other person I know of that is more deserving of being inducted to the Mynderse Hall of Fame than Kirk Ward. With that being said, it's my pleasure and privilege and honor to introduce my coach, my mentor, and again, most importantly, my friend, Kirk Ward.
Thank you, Coach. Calm, cool, and collected until it comes to this. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking the Hall of Fame Committee. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for everything you've done to make this weekend possible. Also, congratulations to all of tonight's inductees. They say in life, do something that you like, and you'll never work a day. For the past 34 years, I have been fortunate enough to do two things that I've liked very much: teach and coach. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is a proud moment for me and my family. But to me, being here tonight is much more a testament to the athletes that I've coached, the people that I've worked with, and the community in which I live. I first came to Seneca Falls as a student teacher out of Cortland State. That 8-week period was one of the best experiences of my life, and it was all because of the people that I met. Everywhere I went, there were people that made me feel welcome, people that took me under their wing, and people that did everything possible to help a young man get started on a career path. I knew then if I ever had an opportunity to be employed in Seneca Falls, that this would be a great place for me. My opportunity came a few years later when a young phys ed teacher took a full year maternity leave for the birth of her second child. That teacher was Liz Beck. And Mr. Paradise decided to take a chance on a 23-year-old kid that he barely knew. For that opportunity, I will always be grateful. And I was hired as an elementary phys ed teacher, an assistant football coach, and the head varsity wrestling coach. 3 positions that I still hold today, all these years later. So tonight, I stand here honored, humbled, and immensely grateful. Honored to be considered and selected for this special group. Beyond humbled to be mentioned with all the great names and all the great achievements that already exist in this Hall of Fame. And extremely grateful to have worked with so many wonderful people that have impacted my career and my life. I would like to thank everyone that came here tonight in support of me and all those that have supported me in the past. And lastly, I would like to thank my family for their support and for allowing me the time to pursue my endeavors as a coach. Thank you very much.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ron Fleury as he will present and introduce our next inductee. If for this particular speech you see me standing right close by, it's basically because Mr. Fleury is magnetic to a microphone.
Thanks, Tony. I want to thank all the previous presenters and the nominees for this award for all the time that they've given me, because I think everybody thought this was going to last a lot longer than it has so far, so I do have some time. I want to thank all the committee and certainly all you that are here for this wonderful evening, for all these people that are involved, and including the football team that's down here. By the way, at least 3 of these guys were track guys for me, because I've coached Mynderse track team for 45 years and still coaching. I've had many great athletes, 3 of them from this football team, that certainly were involved in my sport. I saw many, many athletes from Mynderse Academy that were outstanding sports people. I may be biased, but in my opinion, Nick Wilson deserves this award no less than any particular person that's in the Hall of Fame. He was an outstanding athlete. He qualified 3 years for the States. In order to get to the States, you have to, first of all, make the state qualifier for Section 5. Section 5 has about 75 to 80 schools in the Division II section, and they only take 8 of the very best in an event. Nick made that 3 years. He won it 3 years. Went to the States 3 years in 4 events. He was a state champion as a sophomore in the high jump. That was outstanding because they have pictures. There were pictures out front. The Melborough kid, I think, was the defending state champ, stood about 6'7", 6'6". Nick was shorter than he is now, and he's shorter than me. And to see the 2 of them stand there talking as they were doing this competition was unique in itself. Nick won. On the podium, I said, holy cow, you got to get this picture. He was on the top run of the podium, and the 2 guys that he beat were still taller than him. And that picture was out there. I mean, you could see that. That was an outstanding situation. I'm going to fast forward to the senior year because he was there as a junior, and we went from nice weather one day up at St. Lawrence to basically almost snow Saturday when he jumped or attempted to try to jump, still placing. His senior year, we were at Groton for an invitational, and he did the 110 hurdles, came down, won the thing, tripped, sort of fell right at my feet. I'm trying to catch him. His brother, Sean, who's out here, was second. Coaches said, holy cow, where in the world do you get kids like that can run like that? I said, they're brothers. They are, And so in any case, as soon as that was done, he had hit the state qualifying time, which later will mean something, but he hit the state qualifying time in the hurdles. He then went over to the high jump. Nobody was left. There was nobody left at 6 feet. He had cleared 6 feet. He had no misses. And at that point, they're going to put the bar up, and they said, where do you want to go? And I said, what's the record? And they said 6'4". I said, put it at 6'5". And first jump, he went over it, set the meet record in both of those events, hit the state qualifying distance and time in both of those events. When he went to the state qualifier, he won the high jump, lost to another kid from Alexander. That kid was the defending state champ. Nick was doing the high jump, and while he's doing the high jump, they made an announcement. And he hollers over at me, "Coach, what did they say? What did they say?" I said, "They said you've made the 110 hurdles for the states." So he was excited. I don't think he even cared what happened in the high jump then, but he ended up winning the high jump also. So he went for both events in the state meet. And at the state meet, the two events were running simultaneously, but when he got to run this state champion a second time, he didn't let him beat him. He had that on the video out there too, but Nick was a state champion in 2 events. He was in the States for 4 events over 3 years. Most coaches would consider that tremendous to have one kid in one event. In any case, he did all of that. It is my privilege and very big honor to introduce Nick Wilson, the last inductee tonight before the football team.
Step over here.
I think he said I passed.
Thanks, Coach, for being brief. It took many years of hard work and dedication to get here tonight. It really isn't about what I accomplished. It's about who helped me along the way. First, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for putting on tonight's induction ceremony. It's memorable. It's a fabulous event. I want to thank you guys for welcoming me into the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame, class of 2017. Mynderse Academy has played a pivotal role in shaping me as an athlete and an all-around citizen. Yesterday, I was given a tour of the athletic facilities and inside the high school, and the architecture is amazing. I remember spending my afternoons out on the cinder track with Coach Densmore, Coach Esposito, and Ron Fleury, just training, trying to be the best I can be in high jump and hurdles. All 3 coaches spent countless hours helping me train, pushing me harder every day. Under their guidance, I became New York State champion in high jump and hurdles, and I'm grateful for all that they taught me. Thank you, Coach. After winning my first state championship title in 2005, I suffered an unfortunate injury during my first football game in the fall. With a broken leg, I was unable to train and prepare to defend my state title. After being cleared by the doctor, Mr. Patrick Keefe, athletic director at the time, established an indoor track team. This enabled me to properly train for the upcoming season. I was literally the only athlete on the team. My mom has no idea how to coach track, and she was a coach. My dad was a coach. They brought me to each venue. Without Mr. Keefe's quick actions and actually the approval of the board at Seneca Falls, I would not have returned to high jump state finals that spring. This is another example how, the opportunity that Mynderse gave me and afforded me, and I appreciate every bit of it. In addition to being physically fit, an athlete must be mentally prepared. My wise grandfather, Bruce Windsor, once explained to me the importance of mental conditioning. He taught me how to visualize every aspect of competing, including my funky routines that I do in high jump. If you do it wrong while you visualize, you're going to do it wrong in your actual event or meet or game. This helped me with my rhythm between hurdles and my cadence of my routines. And when you reach the top, everyone's at the same level physically. Mental conditioning gave me an edge over all my competition. Lastly, I'd like to take a moment and thank Sean, James, and Amy, and the rest of my family. They've always been supportive and my biggest fans. I'd like to thank my parents for guiding me towards the right path and their unconditional love along the way. And hats off to my dad. He never missed a game, home or away, and that meant a lot to me. Without those who've helped me along my athletic journey, I never would have accomplished all that I did. This is such a great honor, and I'll forever cherish this moment. Thank you.
Gentlemen, there's no question you're going to have a tough time getting out of those seats right now because I'm sure your chests are all pumped up, as it should be. It's certainly a great honor and a great privilege to have the entire member of the 1970 football team come up to the stage and please take a seat. All of you. You would come this way. Wow. Coming up those stairs pretty slow. Georgia? Kim? Larry, I'm not sure which member of this esteemed team wants to speak first or who's going to speak. Mr. Miller? Oh, you'll do a great job.
Larry did promise me that when I get to the difficult parts, you'll step in if I need you. Thanks. After watching that video, I don't know what else I could possibly say. But as John Russo cautioned me last night at, I think it's Filthy's, he said, if you speak more than 5 minutes, they're going to pull you off the stage. So I do promise I'll be short. I'd like to start off my remarks by expressing our sincere thanks from the 1970 Mynderse Academy football team to the Hall of Fame committee for honoring us this evening. And to see everybody show up like we did, the many faces that have gathered tonight, reaffirms to us all what a special season we experienced 47 years ago. Unbelievable. But long before the 1970 season began, we'd already begun laying the foundation for our historic team. Now many, if not all of us, began our gridiron careers in the Seneca Falls Youth Football League as elementary and middle school kids. And this is where I ask for crowd participation. If you were a Blue Baron, raise your hand. Yeah! It gets better though. And I'm glad to see people out there as well. Thank you. The dreaded Yellow Jackets. There, yeah. I never liked the Red Raiders. Red Raiders? Oh, there you go. And of course, my favorite team, the Green Hornets. Yes. What a great time we had on those Sunday afternoons. And you know what's funny is today I happened to drive by the field, that beautiful facility that you now have, the one that you don't get muddy on or dirty when you play. And there were the next generation of kids out there playing football. It made my heart feel really good. Well, it did seem like that every kid in Seneca Falls was a part of those teams. Football was and still remains a tough physical game. And as a result, to me, sadly, by the fall of 1970, we did have a roster of 30 players, 30 really good players. But only 10 of those were seniors. But the 10 seniors, supported by a strong group of juniors and even a few sophomores, were up to the challenge of the schedule that we faced, that you've seen tonight. Our coaches recognized the potential in our squad, and they prepared us well for every game. We all knew how much Coach Davis and his staff did to ensure that we were ready for every game that we played. If you ever played for Coach, you knew the long, grueling physical practices that we endured, but they were just what we needed every day to handle every opponent week after week. Film sessions in that science room were a Friday afternoon ritual, but my favorite part, traveling to Coach Davis's house for ice cream pie. Oh, and chocolate milk, thank you. I'm sure many of you have heard the term Friday Night Lights. Doesn't apply in Seneca Falls. It's Saturday Night Lights. And it just recently came to me, 47 years later, I figured it out, why he did it that way. You see, if we had played on Friday nights, we would have had one less day of football every day each week. And there was no way George Davis was going to let us happen. So Saturday night meant one more day to prepare for your next game. Football in Mynderse Academy in 1970 was more than just our team. We received so much support from the cheerleaders, our tremendous marching band with our halftime shows, our classmates, our families, and the community. And I guess this involvement by so many is what made our season so special. And like every other team, we've all moved on, and I'm sure all of us hold special memories from this great year. And as a tribute to our team and our season, we had these jerseys created tonight to help to display our unity and our spirit. And on the left shoulder is the number of each of our teammates who have since passed, and we honor them tonight. This is where it gets tough. Number 14 was Billy Caraher. Billy, along with his good friend John Malone, were our youth managers. Now, Billy and John, they showed up every game, every practice, and they threw the ball around, they giggled, they laughed. But my only concern was I hoped that they would never go home and repeat the words that they heard from us every day. Number 51, Mike Long, was a senior. He brought such a presence and strength to every practice and game. And if Mike lined up over you at practice, you knew you were in for a long day. He had this sense of humor. He'd giggle and laugh, and then he'd absolutely beat the snot out of you. And he was everybody's friend. Number 70, Matt Mazzolio, was an underclassman. He took great pride in his blocking and tackling. And Matt was highly intelligent and always looked for a way to defeat anyone lined up on the opposite side of the ball. Matt was a treasure on the line. He was dominating his man on the opposite side of the ball, and the beneficiaries were our running backs, because when Matt blocked somebody, there was a hole big enough to drive a truck through. Number 42, John Kotick, was truly one of the secret weapons that we started this 1970 season with. And of course, you all know that followed us that John's coming out party was the Clyde Savannah game, where it almost seemed like he single-handedly defeated our opponents, who were state-ranked and heavy favorites over us. And in the end, John scored 2 touchdowns and a conversion that sealed the game for us. And finally, number 85, Mike Saviglia. 47 years before the New England Patriots had their Gronk, Mynderse Academy had the original one. Mike was a special player, gifted with strength, talent, and speed. He dominated the field at all times. And Gronk, was recognized by each opponent, who knew if they tried to attack his side of the ball, they would always meet with little success. Coach Davis, Coach Carasillo, and Coach Henry were the driving forces behind our success. You know, and as a football coach myself for over the 40 years, I've asked myself more than once, what would Coach Davis do? And in the end, the answer was always the same. I'll prepare and I'll outwork my opponent each week. And this is truly the reason we were so successful 47 years ago. I did it. By the time we finished the season in Waterloo, wearing our specially made white jerseys that Coach Davis didn't want us to wear, we had accomplished exactly what our coaches had expected. We were undefeated. Again, a sincere thank you to the Hall of Fame committee, our families, and our friends for honoring us tonight. Thank you.
Playing for Coach Davis at that time and with these guys, it was a real privilege. Together with assistant coaches Al Henry and Vince Caracello, we experienced outstanding leadership that was consistent, always encouraging, and always with an emphasis on team, perseverance, and a high standard of sportsmanship and fair play. Coach Davis was the driver, always determined to make us better, to instill in us a mental and physical toughness. Can't count the number of times he'd be mixing it up with us in practice, because we were in full pads. That didn't matter to Coach, right? He would use someone like me, for instance, to demonstrate blocking technique, and I'd end up halfway down the field backpedaling as fast as I could because he wouldn't let me go. He would demonstrate the proper tackling technique. That was to stick your face mask right in the numbers. That was the way to tackle somebody. Head up, not down. He would also do the forearm. Am I doing this right? The shiver, right? In order to shed a block, right? And he was as kids, of course, we thought he was a little half crazy, but in reality, and especially looking back on it, we see how passionate he was about making us better ball players, better men. I think it was contagious. So where Coach Davis was driving us, Coach Henry was our cheerleader. Coach was always with a clipboard and a whistle. I think it was his charge to keep our practices on schedule. He was always enthusiastic, always encouraging. In fact, he would run sprints with us. Who would do that, Many of us on the team also had the privilege of playing lacrosse for Coach Henry. His enthusiasm carried over into the lacrosse season as well. His emphasis on family, on unity, and mutual support for one another. And Coach Caracello, we'll call him the good cop. He always felt like he was maybe just a little bit softening the hard edges of Coach Davis. Coach, you were personable. You demonstrated a quiet and genuine care for us as individuals, also cheering us on and striving to make us better young men. So as you might expect with any football team, we have a few stories. And of course, over the years, they get embellished, they get better, they grow bigger. But something, isn't it, that for such a short period in our lives, the things we did, the people we knew, the memories we made, we carry all of this with us for a lifetime. And although I haven't seen a lot of these folks for a long time, those shared memories still hold us together, especially now, and especially on this occasion. This was a time of cultural revolution, if you remember, right? The 60s, late 60s, 1970. It was also a time when, before the start of double sessions in mid-August, our biggest challenge was to get our head shaved. Coach insisted it was because he wanted our helmets to fit tighter. I think it was a really good story for our parents, right? Keep us safe. But I think it was more that we needed to conform to his image of a football player, and long hair definitely did not fit that image. I think also to most of us it was sort of like a badge of honor, a brotherhood of nearly bald-headed teenagers going out and playing football. Looking around today, it seems like some of us have decided to maintain that same look. There are plenty of stories off the field. I won't share any of those with you. But there are countless memories on the field. A recovered fumble, a quarterback sack. Sometimes it was their guy, sometimes Larry was lying on his back. Kirk, I thought you were supposed to get that guy. It was me. Oh, yeah. All right. Pass interception, a block punt, tackle in the backfield for a loss. And the amazing and pretty much unheard of at the time Texas wishbone triple option, requiring split-second decision-making by our quarterback as the play developed. There are two plays in particular that I really feel kind of epitomize our season. One was against Victor. That was our first game. We were nearing the end of the first half and thinking, okay, we're going to run out the clock because that's all we did. We ran. I don't know if you saw some of those statistics. 300 yards rushing, 17 yards passing, total game, right? Thinking we were going to run out the clock, hand off to Lou Barbie up the middle, quarterback keeper, something. Anyway, we were somewhere, I think, shy of midfield, and coach calls a timeout. Larry goes over, talks to coach, comes back to the huddle, and you remember this? You were jumping out of your shoes. I mean, Larry was just plain giddy because telling all of us in disbelief that we were going to go with a play-action pass and we were going to fake a handoff and we were going to go to our tight end, Mike Saviglia, streaking down the field. We were all just as dumbfounded standing there in the huddle and excited, and I say, "You're really sure? This really kind of sounds like you drew this up in a schoolyard somewhere, you know? I'm going to fake it to you, and you go long, all right?" Well, it worked, and if you think we weren't expecting it, the guys of Victor sure weren't expecting it either. So, and I'm not completely sure Coach Davis saw it working out as well, but for me, I can still see Mike Gronk hauling in that pass, and it was in front of our own bench. We were heading away from the school, east, hauling it in front of our bench, everyone cheering, jumping up and down, raising their arms as he raced to the end zone. End of the half, and I think for all intents and purposes for us, we felt we could do anything. That was the end of the game. The other story was Clyde. Clyde was a tough, hard-fought slugfest in the mud. I don't know if there were many games that weren't in the mud, but that one sure was. And it was a really tight game, and we felt, of course, that season it was Clyde, it was Geneva, it was us. As a member of the offensive line, there's not a whole lot you see that's going on in front of you. You find your assignment, you try to hold your block for as long as you possibly can. You know something's going on back there. You hope that somebody's going to come out in front of you eventually. But you know, when you're on the line, you're looking for your guy. You're trying to hold that block. On this particular series, we were headed the other way. We were headed toward the west. We were headed toward the school, that end zone, which I understand was about 3 feet lower than the rest of the field. Anyway, we were headed that way. It was always our reliable triple option with a wishbone backfield and an unbalanced line to the right. So we did unbalanced right, unbalanced left, go right, go left, go up the middle. Well, the play ended up going to the right side of the field. Larry pulled the ball out away from Lou Barbie, took it around the end, made a perfect pitch to John Kodak. Now, John was fast. At least to me, he was fast. Well, everybody was fast, but for me. But anyway, he was fast, and I knew, and I think my other guys on the line knew around me that he was going to take it all the way. What I remember about it is the joy. I remember all of us cheering and shouting, taking it all in. You know, it was described in the paper. People witnessed it in the stands. My wife told me today that after the game, she ran out into the mud. Everybody was cheering and everything. But you know, the thing is, it's really hard. What's really hard to explain, even now, is the sort of collective delight, the joy, the sense, the feeling. I think it's something that defines team. As a team, we each had our unique talents, our individual skills. We each contributed using those abilities to the best way we could. It enabled us collectively to achieve more than any one of us could have accomplished individually. Any of us here who have ever been a member of a team knows this to be true. It's not just in sport, but in any type of organization or under any type of circumstance. I think of musicians in an orchestra who together produce beautiful music. I think of colleagues at work who collectively, collaboratively join together to solve problems. Being a member of a committee or a board consisting of people with individual talents who combine to undertake difficult challenges, and of course that extends throughout our communities or neighborhoods. With a common goal in mind and everyone working together, anything can be undertaken successfully. In our case, the goal was to win every game. Doesn't mean that if we lost, we would have failed or fallen short, although, of course, we wouldn't be here tonight if that had happened, but we were all, in essence, rowing in the same direction, supporting each other, making us stronger. It took everyone on the team and not just those who started on game day. The push in practice every day that made us all better, the mutual respect for one another that gave us the confidence and the belief in ourselves that we could succeed. 47 years, it's a long time that goes by in a flash. But these are still vivid memories, and for me, it's something I cherish. My family has heard the stories a dozen times. But these are memories we carry in our hearts to this day. And it's evidenced by, I think, the presence of all of the people who could make it here today, my fellow teammates. I think it's evidenced by the guys who couldn't make it back here but sent emails expressing similar thoughts. I think it's evidenced here by the presence of the families representing our friends and our coaches who have passed on. And it's evidenced by the presence of all of you here this evening, sharing in this honor our team gratefully accepts. It's a testimony to what we all experienced as kids in high school, the life lessons we acquired and assimilated under the leadership of Coach Davis with Coach Henry and Coach Carasillo. Hard work, pride, teamwork. Thank you.
At this time, it's going to be my pleasure to introduce each of the players or their representative. I'll go through the directions once. When you come up to get your plaque, we'd ask you to stand right towards the center of the stage. Mr. Novak will take a photograph. We'd ask you to return back to your seat and remain there until everything is done, because then Mr. Novak is going to perform some gymnastics. He's going to stand up on one of those chairs, and he would like to take the entire group photo. And he does not get paid, so there's no compensation in the event he happens to fall.
Vince is going to hand out the plaques,
Including
to the
Coach Davis?
Okay.
All right. So at this time, I'd like to call Coach Carasillo, if he could please come up. and one of our captains, Larry Justy. And as we call off the names, gentlemen, you will present the plaques to each of the members, okay? Towards the center, though, please.
Vince, if you want a chair, let me know. I'll bring it up.
You gonna take their picture first? We're going too fast.
Stay there.
Stay right there. Thank you. Do you want a chair? Do you want a chair? Not yet? Okay. At this time, I'd like to call on representing Coach George Davis, his daughter Georgia, and granddaughter Kim. You have the plaque, right? Next, representing Coach Henry, his son Gavin. And now for the players. Steve Avaduti. Lou Barbie, in accepting for Lou, who's unable to attend, his son Joseph. Ed Bartle. George Capacci. Fred Capozzi. George Chapelski. Dave Farney is unable to be with us tonight, but David was also a member of this team. Larry Justy. Peter Justy. Our next member unable to be here, Mr. John Haley. Next is Rick Hannon. Jim Horton. Bruce Knapp. Accepting for John Kotick, his lovely daughter, Lisa. Larry Libator. Accepting for Mike Long, Nancy Hartman. David McNaney. Frank Miller. Unable to attend was Joe Nicastro. Accepting for Matt Nozzolio, Senator Michael Nozzolio. Unable to attend, Mr. Michael Odell. Joe Pagano. Bob Peterson. Unable to attend, the next three, Bob Prutzman, James Rickey, and Pete Rosenkrantz. Mike Scataglia. Joe Scabona. Accepting for Mike Saviglia, his lovely daughter Wendy, and son Joe. Gary Verkey. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce into the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame the 1970 Mynderse Academy undefeated football team. Congratulations. Can we do that now?
Yeah. Congratulations to the team and the 6 inductees that we had come before this. And not for nothing, but listening to the people that are receiving today and the people that spoke on behalf of other people in the team, this is why we have the Hall of Fame. So you can come back to your hometown, you can see people you know, you can honor your parents, and really resolve the fact that you grew up in a pretty good town. You guys can stay right here. You've done enough tonight. We're going to take your picture after all this is over. Nominees, or inductees and presenters, we want you to stay and come forward, but we're going to take your picture up here also. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, and remember that we're going to the Seneca Falls Country Club after this for a get-together. And remember, no matter where you live, we have a lot of people that live here, we have a lot of people that came from different areas. Wherever you live, support your schools, because the school is the backbone of your community. So whether it's in Seneca Falls or in California and Florida, support your schools. Be safe on your journey home and do something good for somebody else every day. It'll be a better world. Please stand and join us in singing of our alma mater. The verses are in the back of the program. Hit it. I'm not going to sing it. We have it over the loudspeaker.
Beautiful to view, walls reside with words of wisdom to each student true. Minders, minders, hear our praises as each voice is raised. Glory to the alma mater of our high school days. As we leave the alma mater to tread